I wanted to give like just a quick outsider, guess or educated guess as to what really happened on 9/11/2001. And I'm probably wrong on some of these things, but just from piecing it together, I wanted to make this into a nice edited video, but I just simply don't have the time to do that. I'm busy with my Universe Life Science Future project, and that's by far, I think, well, that's for me, that's more important, to get this history of evolution and science and the future to the public. But I would like to read this quick summary I have. And this is from an outsider, just from watching many 9/11 truth videos and so on, to try and figure out exactly what did happen. Very few of the 9/11 truth people are willing to speculate. A lot of them are included, a lot of them are insiders, and so it's sort of dangerous for them to really say what really happened, but they can only hint. In fact, a lot of insiders have dropped numerous hints. And as an outsider, I don't have to hint. I can completely guess freely because I'm not giving away any secrets. I don't know. I'm not included. So, I wouldn't get in trouble for any of that. But anyway, just a quick summary of the 9/11 from an outsider, excluded perspective. Sort of 9/11 in 5 minutes. So, a military drill is built around the 9/11 events, basically, so that all events are included, making many of the activities appear to be part of the drill. But most people in the camera thought not understand that this is going to be an actual false flag terrorist event, although perhaps the scale of 3,000 dead is not planned. I mean, using estimates of only a few hundred because of theoretical evacuations of the towers and so on. Perhaps many included think that the president, vice president, and generals such as Myers and Eberhard are just playing along to make the drills more realistic, and will call off or shoot down the military planes at the last minute or whatever, or call off the military planes at the last minute. So the two World Trade Center buildings, 1 and 2, and Building 7 are wired up with explosives on the weekend before 9/11 by people employed in controlled demolition with Securicom and security companies, allowing that type of thing, helping, making it happen. Atta and a few other patsy CIA and ISI funded people are flown to Cleveland. Like these people, Atta and so on, are just basically CIA agents. They're paid, and ISI, they're paid money by these groups just to whatever, hang out, drink, and party, and so on, be used as eventually as patsies to take the blame for this stuff. They're flown to Cleveland, Ohio to prepare to board Flight 95. This is all pure speculation. Maybe I'm wrong, I'm just kind of guessing. All 4 planes are directed to land. On the day of 9/11, all 4 planes are directed to land at Hopkins International Airport in Cleveland, Ohio, and the excuse is a bomb scare. Or these planes and people are simply made up by insiders, I don't know, but I think it was a bomb scare. I think they do actually exist, and they were brought down to land. So 2 military planes, which are painted like American and U.S. airplanes, although they have no windows, which was really sort of a nasty flaw, but planes fly so high that it's difficult to really see, so they probably thought that it wouldn't be a big deal. So 2 military planes are painted like these U.S. airplanes, and they have no windows, though. They take off possibly from a military base, in the southeast or Texas. I don't really know where these planes take off from. That is unknown yet, but it would be nice to get some more hints about that. And each has a missile attached to their bottom. They attach this missile, the military, 1 missile to each plane, perhaps to just start up so there wouldn't be any, wreckage, so that they would explode, and that they could use that as an excuse to bring down the buildings. These 2 planes are flown by radio control. There's nobody on those planes, as seems logical. They're flown by radio control into each of the World Trade Center buildings. The first reaches World Trade Center 1, the North Tower, at 8:46 a.m. The second military plane reaches World Trade Center 2, South Tower, at 9:03 a.m. Bush, who gets this beamed onto the back of his mind, so Bush can see this second plane and the first plane hitting the building in his eyes, on his mind screen. Most of us don't get this technology, but Bush and many elite wealthy insiders do get this. And Bush shockingly claps and smiles, probably with many other insiders in a Florida classroom when live video is beamed onto his brain of the second military plane colliding with the World Trade Center 2. It's in some way to sort of say that this is okay, this is a good plan. This was a success for the United States and our side, and so, just shockingly vicious and bizarre viewpoint. A missile is fired from a missile is fired from a military plane or helicopter. It's not clear which one to me as an outsider. At the Pentagon, creating a small hole in the first floor, killing a few hundred people in the Pentagon. I mean, they killed a few people right there, a few hundred people right there in the Pentagon. And those people were probably liberal intellectuals, and although included in the Camera Thought network for the most part, excluded from all video relevant to 9/11. Must have been, or else they wouldn't have been there. But were they liberals? That's a tough question, but I think they might have been. Who knows? The Pentagon might even be divided into right and left sides, for all I know. Who knows? These Pentagon employees were probably selected to be executed. It's tough to really know, though. Maybe not. I don't know. Cordite, smokeless gunpowder, is then quickly wired around the missile damage to create a larger hole. They did that on the spot, I think. I really don't know. Or it could have been there earlier. And collapsed the entire section of the Pentagon. That was probably done with explosives. Some flight attendants, such as Betty Ong, might have been told that they are part of a simulated hijacking drill and they need to read a script. And they are given scripts to read which are recorded. Or these voices are just simply created by computer technology by recording their voices. Audio is very easy to fake. Video is not as easy to fake. A photo is relatively is somewhat easy to fix. But when you're talking about light particles are very small, shadows are very difficult. Video is very difficult to reproduce, but audio is only 24 bits. It's it's not difficult to manipulate audio. There's plenty of examples. So perhaps the Mark Bingham phone call voice was synthesized, or he used his last name to indicate that something was wrong. Who knows? All the people from the 4 planes are put onto Flight 93 in Cleveland, Ohio. My guess is that that those phone calls were morphed, or whatever it is, so-called morphed. All the people from the 4 planes are put onto Flight 93 in Cleveland, Ohio. This is the guess. So this is it's tough to know. Like South Park suggested that this is what happened, and other people have hinted that this might be what happened. Loose Change hints that this might be what happened. They start to fly east. Many insiders are hinting that this plane was shot down over Shanksville with these passengers inside, upon the orders of George Bush Jr. or Cheney, from what many insiders are hinting was probably potentially a Major Rick Gibney of the Happy Hooligans from North Dakota. Maybe I'm wrong, but this is what many insiders are saying, in an F-16 fighter jet. And that's an interesting thing if that's true. Maybe it's wrong, but this is what many of the people, insiders, seem to be hinting, and that's what I think a person might speculate. This kills all the people who were all excluded. They had to be probably excluded, or are only partially included, such as Barbara Olson, Muhammad Atta. Hold on, I'm making a video. Betty Ong, Mark Bingham. They must have all been excluded, or just like heavily, only very tinily included. Probably they were excluded from this apparatus of seeing and hearing thought. The 2 World Trade Center buildings are brought down in a controlled demolition. WTC-2, and that's amazing. Can you imagine how many people were murdered just with the push of a button? The WTC-2, the South Tower, is brought down at 9:59 a.m., just a minute before 10 a.m., as if 10 a.m. was some kind of deadline.